Hey everyone, my name is Chris from Meeple Overboard, and this is my top 10 games from 2017. This is the first year that I've probably been involved enough in gaming and played through enough games in this year to make a best of the year list. So I'm excited. Let's go. My number 10 is Werewords or Insider. Insider, I guess, was technically released in Japan in 2016, but I don't think it really saw a wide American release until 2017. I honestly prefer the simplicity of Insider a little bit, but Werewords has an app integration that has a bigger pool of randomized words. Both games are very similar, where one person knows what the word is and is answering questions, a la 20 questions, that kind of style of game. Everyone else is asking yes or no questions. Is it an animal? Does it fly? Is it made out of butter? Whatever type of questions that will help them narrow down the word. The trick is that one person amongst the group of people who are asking the person who knows the questions actually also knows the word. And so people are trying to identify who is asking too helpful of questions, too useful and direct of questions. And it is my favorite social deduction hidden role style game that I think's ever been made. It is simple, it plays in 4 or 5 minutes. And so either version, Werewords or Insider that you can find, are both really good, and I think that you should add them for when you need a quick party game that you can sit around. You don't even have to play around a table. You can sit comfortably in your living room and everything. It is such a good little game, and so it comes in at number 10 as an awesome party game. Number 9 is Sagrada, which is a dice drafting game. You roll 2 dice per people that are playing +1. So if you're playing with 4 players, you roll 9 dice, and then the first player will draft 1, and you'll go around, and then starting backwards with the last person, they will draft 1, going back to the first player. And you place them into this grid where you're basically making a stained glass window is kind of the theme. And it works so simply and beautifully. I like drafting games a lot, and I like that this has a dice drafting mechanism, which other games have done, but this one does it so well and so simply. You want to be able to put good numbers onto your stained glass window grid, and there are different objective cards that you're trying to score. So sometimes you want to make diagonals, sometimes you want to make rows or columns that don't have repeat numbers or repeat colors, and so the dice are in different beautiful colors and they roll into different numbers. And I think that it is just a simple, really good, fun game that I just can't speak highly enough about. It's very simple. There's luck to it because it's dice, but I love having good dice games that people look at and say, oh, this is different than what I imagined like a dice game would be. Theme is perfect with it. And I really don't have a lot of complaints about the game, except that it's just hard to find sometimes. So if you can find it, I think that it's a great game. Now, number 8 is Ethnos. Ethnos is to area control what Ticket to Ride is to route connection. Simple game where you're pulling cards into your hand on your turn, but this game has a few restrictions that really make it unique. You only have a 10-hand limit, and then you have to play sets. And even weirder, once you play a set of cards that are all either the same color or all the same race, like the same type of card, then all the other cards that you have in your hand get discarded into the middle. And so now other people can try and recruit those cards into their hands. And so there's a lot of really nifty strategy in Ethnos. And so not only do you score points by playing larger bands, larger sets of cards together, but there's also an area control on the board. You're trying to get majorities in 6 different colored regions, and it has a randomized setup, and so you place out these tokens that show how many points each of those regions is worth, and that'll change from game to game. So green region in one game might be worth 2, 4, 8 points, right? First, second, and third round. Whereas in the next game, it might be worth 0, 0, 10 points. And so there's never, from one game to the next, there's never like, well, green is the best region last game, so obviously you go for green. It changes as meaningful variety, and I really like Ethnos. People complain about the artwork, people complain that it looks drab. I don't really care because the gameplay is so smooth, so good, so fast. people's turns. On your turn you either draw a card or play a set of cards, basically. And so it's so great that you can draw a card. Next person goes, draw a card. Next person goes, draw a card. It's back to your turn again, literally that quick. It's so many good things I could say about Ethnos, so that comes in at number 8 for me. Number 7 is this tiny little box here called Fugitive. It is a Tim Fowers game. It actually does one of the things I don't really love, where it doesn't really show the game, so I will show it to you. Fugitive comes in this beautiful little briefcase, and it is a little hidden role, a hidden movement type game, but it's all done with cards, and all of the cards in the game have really beautiful artwork. Each card is numbered differently and has, just tons of beautiful, beautiful illustrations by Royanne Goldsberry. It is probably my second favorite game when it comes to just the art. And so one player is the fugitive, the other player is the marshal trying to chase the fugitive. The fugitive is playing these cards face down and trying to run from one hidden base location to the next, and he can only run in increments of up to 3 spaces, but he can discard other cards in his hand that have little footprint signs to increase how many spaces that is. So you're bluffing, you're trying to outbluff the other person, the marshal, who's trying to guess the locations where you're at. It is tight, it is tense for both players. It has that hidden movement type of feel that you might find in games like Fury of Dracula and Letters of Whitechapel, but simplified down to just a deck of cards. And I don't know, Tim Fowers knows how to make a really good game. So this isn't found in retail stores. You have to go to his website or sometimes his Kickstarters, future Kickstarters of his. You can buy previous games and stuff. But Fugitive is worth it if you want a really good 2-player hidden role, or not hidden role, but hidden movement style game. This is one of the most fun in a simple little package, and I can't say enough good about it. So that comes in at number 7, Fugitive. Number 6 is a train game, and it is probably the simplest train game in existence. It is called Whistlestop. Maybe not simple, not in a bad way, but just straightforward. So you are moving your trains along the rails, and you're building rails as you move along. Kind of like Suro, if you've ever played that game, right? Where you're creating paths as you move along from the East Coast to the West Coast here. But in this game, you are moving from stop to stop and collecting resources of those colors and trading them and try and get shares. And you want to get majority of shares for the end of the game, and you want to trade in the different resources that you're getting for bonus points. And there's a compelling reason to try and move all the way across, because you get bonuses when you retire your trains as they hit the West Coast. But you also want to have more trains available because you only have a certain number. And so they move around, and you want to have more trains so you can collect different types of resources and get different bonuses. This is a fantastic game. So easy to teach. I would probably call it like a next level game, right? Not quite a gateway game. I would use Ticket to Ride if I wanted to introduce people who were interested in trains. But this captures more of that pick up and deliver type feel, and it just does it in such a good, simple way to teach. So maybe after someone's played a few gateway style games, this is a great next step, and I have a ton of fun playing it. That's Whistlestop at number 6. Number 5 for me, I enjoy Tetris-y type of games and such, and so therefore Baron Park was a really easy choice for me. This is a very loved game in my household. I think that you have the different shapes and stuff, and you want to put them onto your board. I think that this even beats out Patchwork for me. I've really enjoyed Patchwork. I think it's a great game, but when you cover up different types of spots on your board with these different shaped tiles, you then get extra bonuses. So you can draft, or you can get more tiles and different types of tiles in the future. You can get additionally tiles that are worth more points and cover up more spaces, and then you can get more of your home base tiles. You're building up the size of your bear park to eventually have 4 tiles, and you want to try and cover up everything except for one little square per tile, and then you can get a bear statue, which is worth a lot of points. And the game really shines when you use the objectives. Like there's 3 bonus scoring objectives that you can put, and it says that that's the advanced game, but we've just always played with those because the game is very straightforward, and I think that it needs that to be a little bit more of a bite, of a crunchy type game for people who are gamers. But man, is this a lot of fun. Very simple. Taught it to friends at 1:30 in the morning on New Year's Day. And, you know, even though everyone was tired, we had just finished celebrating, they had a ton of fun with it. So I think Baron Park is easily one of the best games of the year, so it comes in at number 5. Number 4 is a game that I don't yet own, but I plan to. I've gotten to play this at Meepleville, my local board game cafe, and that's where a lot of these ones that I don't own, where I've gotten to play them so much. And so number 4 is Raiders of the North Sea. Raiders of the North Sea by Renegade Games, originally by Garf Hill Games, and brought to US distribution by Renegade, is a very cool worker placement game. It's Viking themed, and so you're going on raids and stuff. But before you go on your raids, you have to get enough supplies and you have to get enough crew hired into your ship. And so there's all of the village actions that you take on the bottom of the board. And my favorite part about this game is that when you place a worker, you also pick up a worker from another spot. So I might place a worker at the silversmith to get 3 coins. Good, right? And then I might take one of the workers that's already at the barracks, which allows me to spend a certain number of coins to hire crew into my ship. And so you place in one area that's open, and then you take back a worker in an area that's already that already has a worker in there. And so you're placing and taking. So you always have another worker for the start of your next turn. And there's 3 different colors of workers, black, gray, and white. And they can go to different spots, and different spots are more powerful for one color and weaker for the other, whereas other spots are more powerful for this color but weaker for the other, or only certain colors can go to certain spots. It's very simple. It's surprisingly simple, even though it's a bit crunchier, I think, than a game like Lords of Waterdeep or Stone Age, but not that much more. And I love the different ways to score. You can go on raids, and every raid that you do will score you some victory points, and will get you different tokens. You can turn those tokens in to the Jarl. You can make an offering that will be worth secret points that will score at the end of the game. Or you could try and do different strategies that allow you to score more points by going and raiding areas that, instead of getting plunder, you might kill some of your crew from Valkyries, and you will score Valhalla life after death points, right? Because you died in glorious battle as a Viking. And so the more crew that you have that get killed by these Valkyrie, it slows your engine down, but you can start earning 1, then 2, then 4, then all the way up to 10, 15 points for the end of the game. And so I love the multiple ways to score, and I think that it's just simply a very smooth, great worker placement game. I'm excited to play it a lot more, and I know that Renegade has actually just released, or will just release this month, 2 expansions to it, so I don't think it's going to get stale anytime soon. So that's my number 4, is Raiders of the North Sea. My number 3 is actually a series of games, and some people find this controversial, but I really love the Unlock series of games. I haven't tried the other escape room in a box games. I got to try a demo of Unlock at MeepleCon last year, back in March of 2017, and we got to play a 30-minute demo there, and it was one of the most captivating parts of the convention. And so then the game's released this year, and we bought Squeak and Sausage, and this one, The Formula. And I think Squeak and Sausage is my favorite, even though it's a little more cartoony, and some of the puzzles were a little bit more cartoony. Played that with a group of 6 people, and we played The Formula with a group of 4 people. And I think that these are best played with a group, right? I would say at least 3 for probably maximum enjoyment, but you could play them with 2, and you could maybe play them with 1, but if you get stuck on a puzzle, then it's just you. So I think that the larger groups were really fun. 4 or 5 might be best. 6 was almost too many people kind of sitting around, but the puzzles are so creative, and it's great. The art is incredibly well done, which is very important for a game of this type of style, where it literally feels like an escape room. After playing the demo and after doing Squeak and Sausage, I went to an actual escape room and was disappointed that it wasn't that much cooler, or that much more complicated, or that much more invested feeling than playing this box. So if you've been hesitant about this whole escape room in a box trend, take it from someone who has actually done an escape room and done several of these, that these are just as good, and they're cheaper. They're way cheaper. If you're concerned about spending $10 to $15 for a one-time play experience, then have fun. Go and spend $25 or $35 per person at an actual escape room, and sure, enjoy that, right? As for me and my house, we will play Unlock. We're excited for the new scenarios, and I think that this is one of the coolest innovations to kind of come out this year. This one is also, what's nifty about it is, even though I know the puzzles, I know this is done now, I don't have Squeak and Sausage with me because I lent it out to family and to friends so that they can go play it. These ones, Unlock, are fully resettable because they're a deck of cards and because they have a phone app that goes with it, whereas some of the other ones aren't. And that's fine, right? Because they have different types of puzzles where you cut up cards and you mingle them and stuff. But this one is fully resellable and fully re-giftable, basically. So Unlock comes in at number 3 for my favorite games of 2017. My number 2 is a complex, difficult, and heavy game. And heavy, I mean both physically as well as in terms of the gameplay. And I'm surprised that First Martians by Portal Games is not getting more love. This is a sequel to the first game, Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe got a second fancy edition this year, and then it got this, a true sequel that is based on the same engine but has a different theme. It has a different approach to those same types of mechanisms. It has an app integration, which I think makes it a little more controversial. You'll notice that several of my games actually had an app with them. I don't mind that. In fact, I think that it is very cool to integrate that digital aspect into the physical board game. First Martians does it so well because it will walk you through the 5 or 6 phases that happen every round. It'll keep track of the different rounds for you. That was one of the things that Robinson Crusoe was quite fiddly, and it was difficult for me to always remember, to move this every round, to keep track of all of the phases that happen every round. Oh, we skipped weather, whoops. That won't happen with this game because it will, the app will guide you very easily. It'll give you brief summaries of everything to do each phase instead of having to look it up in the rulebook. What happens during this phase again? Did we do all 7 sub-steps of phase 3? This one just works for me really well. It's complicated, but what I love is that it has 6 standalone scenarios. Ignacy also created a 7th standalone scenario as a gift to give to everyone who owned it. And so you can go and download that on their website, totally free. And it comes with 2 campaigns. I've played the first campaign, and it is really interesting. Like, playing the whole campaign through, the story is good, right? The story's not amazingly written or anything, but the campaign is good. I like the story, I like where it goes, and it makes playing one game to the next really, really interesting. I want to see what happens to my astronauts. Do they make it? How are we going to make it? Oh man, so many things are going wrong. And so you have to choose which things are you really going to focus on. And so that campaign is very engaging. And I mean, maybe it's possible that not everyone who has reviewed this has truly went through the whole campaign experience, because that's where I think that this game shines. So First Martians by Portal Games is my number 2 favorite game of the year. So what is my number 1 game of 2017? That is going to go to, and look, I know this is going to sound like recency bias, right? Because this game just came out like literally 2 to 3 weeks ago. And so sure, the most recent thing that you played is your favorite. Well, this game just speaks to me because it's worker placement. It is a legacy game, and it's designed by Jamie Stegmaier. Charterstone. Charterstone is an absolute joy of a game. Now, I got to watch a few reviews before we started playing that said, hey, don't expect the story to be great, right? Don't expect this to have the story of Pandemic Legacy or some, the other legacy games that have already existed. Expect this to be a mechanically amazing adventure. And so I got to curb my enthusiasm a little bit and put it kind of in the right zone. And that's why this game has been amazing. Now, for people that expected this to be Pandemic Legacy 3, right? It's not. It's very different. It is a Euro game at its core. It is worker placement. You're unlocking new mechanisms. You're unlocking new ways that you put your workers somewhere, and you get to trade in things for other things, and you can activate these things, and you can do this thing. You can move this thing forward, right? I'm trying to speak in vague terms just so you can experience Charterstone. But the core gameplay is good. It is a good worker placement game. You put your worker on a building and you activate it. But the buildings are very interesting. Some of the buildings let you unlock crates, right, which is a series of new cards that will introduce new rules, or new buildings, or new, different ways to interact with the stuff that's already there. So it's not just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's also getting, it gets bigger, and it kind of shifts this way, and then it kind of, this shifts differently. And it's very, the timing of when things come out is very much up to you. That is the one complaint that I had more so about Pandemic Legacy and some of the other Legacy games, that they're more predefined. Hey, this is when you get this new mechanism. With Charterstone, depending on how you unlock the different crates, you will see things come out in different order. And so I could honestly replay through this again. I'm thinking about buying the recharge pack, flipping the board over to the unused board side, and playing it a second time. I will say we played with 2 people, my wife and myself, and then we also used 2 Atama. We went and used the Atama deck, and that was a little bit of a challenge to learn at first. I do have a few complaints that I will go more into detail about the Atama deck, right, when we do our full review on our podcast. But really, I can't complain too much. I think the Atama were great, and they increased the amount of interaction, and they helped build out the board a little bit more simulated like a human player would. And there are also rules that you can use if you don't want to use the Atama, so that the map still grows. So I think that any way you slice it, this is a fantastic game. I have played this I think we played 10 games of this in 2 weeks. Same thing with First Martians, actually. And so any game that can make me keep coming back that many times and have that much fun, those are going to be some of my favorite and most memorable games of the year. So number 1 of 2017 goes to Charterstone, an absolutely unique experience that I'm excited to play over and over again. And, right, this isn't just a typical Legacy game where, typical because there's been like 3 or 4 of them, but this isn't just like a typical Legacy game where you finish the story and you say, well, that was good, and you throw it in the garbage can, right? This is continually replayable. Once you finish the game, there are a few rules tweaks that I'm excited to see what happens at the end of the campaign, and you then have a customized map of a worker placement game that you can play indefinitely, and you can shuffle up the different stuff and pass them around and probably draft them or something, right? Based on kind of what I've heard, and you can then play this map indefinitely. And I think that that is so cool, and I'm so excited to venture more into Charterstone. I'll stop talking about it because I've said a lot of really good about this. Well, 2017 has been a great year in gaming, and I'm really happy with the games I've gotten to play. I'm even hopeful about the games that I haven't gotten to play yet, and I'm sure that I'll get to those soon. So I hope that you enjoyed this list. I hope that if you passed over some of these, that maybe you'll consider it if it sounds like it's to your liking, right? Now, of course, my tastes are different than yours, yada, 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 right? So if you think that I'm wrong, I'm not wrong. These are my favorite games from the year. I hope that you have several favorite games from this year as well, and that you feel free to share those with us as well. With me, with my wife, we do the podcast together. Go check out our full reviews there. And if you want to hear more top 5 lists and game discussions and game reviews, go check out the Meeple Overboard podcast. Thank you so much, and here's to a great 2018.